Alright, so Physical Rose has officially released on the GP version about 2 days ago. Well, 3 days ago, basically. And I have had some time using this guy in game through difficult content, just, off camera, playing around with him, getting a good idea what he's doing. And of course, over the past few months, since February, he has been on the global version, and I've seen a lot of talk about him from global players. Now, the one thing I would say that doesn't make this guy better than I think he was by quite a decent margin is this extra line right here. So we could actually literally bring up the global translation. I think it's on this Dokkan info page here, but we could see the old thing of his passive was he only had launches an additional super attack every time the character attacks 5 times in battle. Now that does not show once only per turn as it does currently. I assume what happened is they thought that this could activate twice during the same turn, but it turns out it can't. And I assume the reason why is because it's likely this attack that's the guaranteed super is like always gonna be pretty much the last attack in the turn or the second to last attack in the turn, and the 5 attacks count does not actually start over again until you actually do the super, from what I was told. So all these additionals you get from the rainbow key spheres would not count towards building this up again. So even if you get 4 attacks turn 1, then you get 6 attacks the second turn, this does not activate twice on the global version. And I think to fix that, they added this line where when you do 10 attacks you get an additional super. That way, it's a separate count and it'll always activate the second super that was intended. So because of that, JP Rose is actually quite a bit better, getting a guaranteed additional extra super attack on a good chunk of the turns Rose is going to be on. Is really good, especially when he's transformed. I mean, that's just, I've seen screenshots where the last attack he does is like a 34 mil attack stat. He's getting 30%, 33% extra defense on his passive, 30% defense on his super attack effect. And then it's a thing where, suddenly he's getting like 400k extra defense from getting the extra super. And he's doing just, again, like another 34 mil attacks that's super effective because of the buff. So it's quite a big deal overall, especially if you have this guy set up looking very nice. But regardless, I think he's more or less still the same for like a majority of the part of the fight, even though he is definitely a better option. And if you guys want to know when it comes to the global buff, I don't know when that's coming. They said it'll be in the future, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, we'll get to Rose in depth once I actually get to him on the list. But let's go ahead and start off with our number 10 spot, which is Physical Super Saiyan God Goku. Now again, this guy, we all know what this guy does. When you get the 6 key spheres with him, he's double supering, guarding, 60% chance to dodge, good link sets, lots of teams, good leader skill, just an overall good character still. He's not crazy in any specific, I think, section of what he's doing. Like damage wise, he's not crazy. Dodge 60% okay. Guard with his defense stat is like decent. Stacking 20%, like not crazy stacking, right? His leader skill would probably be the best thing about him, low key. At this point, even though he's like a nice little floating character, you could just throw on many teams. He's not like pure impressive in terms of like just his numbers in general, right? This is how power creep does work. Obviously, after a year and a few months, right, this guy's not going to be looking nearly as good as he was on release. Duh. But he's still able to hold himself pretty well post 9th anniversary content, which was a pretty big increase in bosses in terms of their power, in my opinion. So God Goku still holding on there. It's quite nice, right? You don't ever transform to Super Saiyan Goku. You stay in this God Goku form, and this guy's able to cook. So he's number 10. 21 used to be number 10, but then obviously Rose is added to his list, and yeah, he does make the list, which is really nice. But move on to our next spots right here, which is First Form Frieza. Now, First Form Frieza here, I think my last list I had him under God Goku, and I decided to move him up. I feel like there's extra fights now, especially the Kid Buu fight. This great lowering attack, man, it's so massively powerful. Because again, this guy's great lowering attack, his first super, high chance to be a super attack additional. He has the hit potential system. Once he does a 5th attack, he does a guaranteed extra additional super. Then his defense, it's still getting only to about like 2.5 mil without any guard, damage reduction, etc. But then you consider him greatly lowering attack 3-4 times in a turn, man. And then it's a thing where, the enemy's so much weaker hitting at this point that, even though Frieza was only like a raw 2 mil, 2.5 mil sometimes at like, juiced up situations, he's still able to live these super attacks. Then at the same time, when he's like able to get all these attacks, get his 5th attack in battle with the extra 100% attack that he gets, this guy's hitting like, I don't know, 20 mil. I've seen him like do 20 mil. Then his active skill hits really hard because he's stacking the attack there. He'll get this buff, he'll get all the attack and defense on super, and then obviously it just disables enemy action, which could be very useful. It could literally disable a super attack for many bosses like Beast Gohan, for example, right? Disabling the enemy action. This Frieza is pretty good in that fight because most of the time the super is either the first or second attack, and then this guy is like, a lot of times he just disables a super attack. Sword of Hope Trunks is another fight, right, where he just like straight up disables the enemy super. So it's a very, very powerful thing. Even Gogeta's AoE, once in a while, it's the first attack. Maybe this guy could disable it. Gogeta's fight, like, he just, like, once you get to the end with this guy, Frieza's able to, like, one turn that phase even. Frieza's very good, right? But the issue with him is that the rest of his team holds him back quite a bit. It's like, Frieza's really good, but then you need a specific setup, and everyone on the setup sucks. So Frieza, you just end up losing with him because of the setup you're forced to run with him. And while it's not his fault, it is part of his design, and that's his or technically it is his fault, right? Because he has the design, but in terms of like he himself, he's doing well. It's just that other characters, because of the design that you have to run with him, suck and they die. So that makes this guy unfortunately overall inconsistent because of that restriction. But let's hope that Planet Namek Saga, Terrifying Conquerors gets a lot of extra characters. Specifically, like, again, Terrifying Conquerors here. This Space Traveling Warriors intro, very easy to get. We just want to worry about Terrifying Conquerors here. I think that is the most important thing. So, fingers crossed for that in the future. Now, here he is, Rose. I have him at 8 on this list. And, you could say, he did get buffed. You thought he'd be a little higher. Okay, so Gamma 1 or 7. I'll do that. We'll talk about Rose first. Rose, to me, when using him, he feels kind of like Frieza, just a better spot. Because there's a lot of stipulations for this guy. And like Frieza, this guy could look really good. He could do tons of damage, He could, live super attacks in a lot more situations than Frieza, arguably, right? Even against bosses that, let's say, I don't know, bosses that can't be attack lord. Yeah, Broly Trio. I've seen this guy take double digits from... the Tech Gogeta phase, the Super Saiyan Gogeta, and the Gogeta Blue fight, right? And obviously this guy would be type disadvantaged in the fight in the next phase, but I've seen him take double digits against that Tech phase, which hits still really hard for a boss like about 2.5 mil. Like, that's pretty tough, right? That's a very hard hitting super, and especially considering this guy is not physical, extreme class. But with Broly Trio, right, this guy has his 30% reduction from having a full super bosses, team basically. Well, 5 characters that are super bosses, and then Broly Trio is also giving 10% reduction, right? And that could be very good, right? Or even like post Scythe Rose, even him having like that 10% reduction with Broly Trio potentially, if Broly Trio attacks first, pretty good. I think, it's definitely a very nice little useful thing. But that's like a very specific rotation. The issue is super bosses is probably a worse setup, but the thing is that you don't need your entire team to be super bosses. I can't speak super bosses. Just like how Frieza technically doesn't need the entire team to be Terrifying Conquerors, but Frieza does cap out, or doesn't cap out, or Rose does cap out at only 5 characters. So you could run like Beast Gohan of this team, but then it's a thing. Oh, you need super bosses, but you also want a rainbow orb changer. I mean, this is probably, well, okay. We have Topo. You could use Topo, but then you're not getting special pose or defenders of justice, right? And like so you could be like, oh, okay, well maybe I'll just run physical Ribrianne. Then with physical Ribrianne, you see, oh, I need 2 Peppy Gal allies, and then we don't have Kefla, and then Tech Count Caulifla. Yeah, I mean, AGL Count Caulifla, like they're not good enough. I meant to say, Ribrianne Trio is nice, right? And then let's say you get like Kefla, Ribrianne Trio, physical Ribrianne, and then Topo, and then you have like 3 characters, or maybe you could just run physical Ribrianne, but then like she wants her own orb so she could dodge, and then it's a thing of I think that the team gets so messy with links. It's just like really weird. You know what I mean? There's like things you have to jump through to just kind of get that out there, right? And it's just obviously you need his reduction for his base run to be good. Then if we consider super bosses and the Scythe Rose when he brings out his clones, it's like you have to choose. Right now you have to choose. I'm not going to judge this Rose off of a potential, well, we know there's a domain update coming, but like we don't know if it's going to overlap. We don't know what's going to happen. Like what if, like, I don't know, like you're not going to choose to transform Rose over Broly. Like no way. And you're not going to run Rose as your leader because like this team is just like so easy to lose with super bosses by itself, and then you don't like, you could run Blue Gogeta, right? I think Blue Gogeta is probably your best rainbow orb changer option, but then it's like you're not running them on rotation together anyways, and maybe you have Blue Gogeta floating around, and then it's like, oh, the rainbow orb changing is not gonna be consistent regardless because Gogeta's floating around, or you keep Gogeta on the other rotation, but then like you have to bring the Broly's up or something, and it's just like, I don't know, and it's like, maybe you don't have a slot 1 if you're running like Gogeta and Broly together, or if you're floating the Broly's around, then it's like you don't really get support options going around that. There's some pretty good support options in that team. It's just a mess, I think, sometimes. With this Rose and the team he's restricted to, I found like no one really talked about that on global, and I think that's because, like, I mean, I'll be honest, the global content is just way easier until Kid Buu came out. But then no one really brought that up. But man, that super boss's restriction is really, 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 really hurtful towards this guy. Now, again, with the additional super and everything like that, this guy, his pure numbers could look really good. For sure, 100%. His pure just like numbers in a vacuum looks nice. But so does Frieza's. So does a lot of the characters on this list. But then it's a thing where Rose is unnecessarily restricted to this team. Like, I don't know why he has this. He has his guard for 1 turn. Did he have to guard for just 1 turn? I don't know. I think maybe this could have even been permanent, to be honest with y'all. Like, who cares? Or, like, what I had preferred, like, okay, with this, I don't know. Like, what I preferred, he just had 30% reduction, just flat out, and then remove the guard. Or guards for 1 turn if there's super bosses category ally or full super bosses rotation. Sure, I'll take that. Fine, that's fine with me. Just like flip them over so that the 30% reduction is like consistent. That's my only thing about it. And besides that, I mean, great chance to look like Key Blast Super, sure. It's a very nice little thing. The domain gives a nice little buff. The clone Rose, you can make them look fancy, make them do big numbers. Like I had it. Well, the funny thing though is that, like, this guy has a 66% reduction before attacking, and I think the idea behind that is that you probably run like a Rose rotation where you have this guy and the physical untransformed Rose obviously together as a rotation. I tried that out against Beast Gohan. I was like, okay, well, let's see how things go. I got to the end. Beast Gohan supers, I think it's a 79% Rose with his reduction up and with support up, and then he hits him for 720k damage, and then he would have got stunned anyway, so he can't even attack after that. In terms of supers, now he would still get the additionals, and that would still give him this, so he would still obviously live the normals. But man, it's just like so frustrating. Like, why does this guy have 66% reduction before attacking? Like, that's weird. He should have like 40% reduction and then guard before attacking. Like, that should be what he does. I don't know. I think that there's, or base form. Why doesn't his base form rainbow orb change? I don't get it. Again, there's a lot of holes you can poke in this guy. Even though I think that his peak looks really good, I just think that there's a lot that has to go in his way. A lot that you have to do for this guy, man. And it's like Gamma. This is Broly. Gamma 1 here. All I have to do for Gamma 1 to live pretty much every super attack in the game, he lives. He's supporting. He has guard for the first few turns, right? So he can get 50% reduction with guard, and then, all he has to be is next to a top 10 unit in the game, the LR Gammas, right? And then he could be slot 1 for the first few turns. Then after, they can go in slot 1 with their 50% reduction. They'll give him 50% defense on their super attack effect, and that's how this guy's able to get, like, I've had turns where this guy's like a 1.5 mil defense with 50% reduction, right? And I believe I've had a turn where he did live Gogeta super attack before, which is, really, really crazy, because Rose, unfortunately, Rose, unless you like get him in very specific situations, he's not going to be able to live it. And I guess Gamma 1, to be fair, has like an advantage a little bit of the fact that he has the or if Gamma, yeah, because he's super class, right, compared to the Rose being extreme class. Where we could take a look here, like, because like you can already also see the difference here, but like you see Gamma 1 for Gogeta Blue's super attack, that's not even debuffed. If he's at his 1.5 mil defense range, or even if he's like, let's say he's at 1.2 mil defense range, right, he can still live theoretically on a team like that. Or maybe he's at 1.3 mil defense range, right, which is possible. He still lives a super from Gogeta Blue without him being debuffed, right? It just, like, it's crazy how actually well this guy's aged. And again, a big reason is because, well, there's Ruger next. Big reason is because the LR androids came out, right, or the LR gammas came out, and obviously LR gammas are super mega powerful. I think people don't talk about this character enough. I think it's because they don't really do like mega damage. They're a lot more, again, support, defensive, helping the team out. But my goodness, this rotation between these two is very good. And there's a couple of teams you could do that on. You could do it on the Movie Heroes team. You could do it on, like, Blue Gogeta's Movie Heroes team, for example. You could even do it on you could run like Tech Exchange Boo as your leader, theoretically, and run this as a rotation, though Tech Exchange Boo does want Majin Power. The Android 21 team, you could do that, right? People do like using the Android 21 team still. Obviously, superheroes, like, right? Special pose. You do that on Topo's team, if I'm not mistaken, right? If you run Topo's team, you could run the LR Gammas as a rotation. It'd be a little troublesome because Topo obviously changes their orbs, and Topo kind of wants to be a slot 1 character, but like you could also run a Topo rotation, to be honest. Like, you can get Topos together, these guys together, right? There's a lot of teams you could do that. And I feel like Rose as a character, he's restricted, and you could say, especially offensively, Rose has a higher peak, but I almost would say defensively, like, Gamma 1 is better than what his Rose is doing as well. And I'm also a defensive preferred character. Not character, well, I call myself a character. Person. He also has the 70% chance to nullify unarmed supers, which is kind of a little more common than Key Blast supers right now, which is really weird, but it is. Like, Beast Gohan super, this guy nullifies it, right? Yeah, it's very strange that, Gamma 1 is better than this guy, but it's less than Rose, more that Gamma 1 was just an incredibly, helped out character. He even got special equipment during the anniversary that boosts his defense by like 1800. It's insane. And LR Gammas just helped this guy out so much. But I mean, in terms of the rest of the list, we can continue. Hirudegarn, I think Hirudegarn's better than Rose. I mean, I've had someone tell me to move like this even, and sure, but I feel like Hirudegarn is a character that could very easily slot into a lot of situations, and at the end of the day, it is 70% chance to dodge RNG sometimes, but he has a chance to get guaranteed dodge here. He could do like quad 15 mil attack stats while guaranteed dodging in the final phases of fights. That's disgusting. That's a disgusting ability, and he has crit chance built in, of course. He stacks up his defense, so even if he doesn't dodge, there's situations where he is able to still live normals once he's transformed, right? Because of the fact that he's stacking up his defense, he gets some of the defense when you're in the first slot, I guess, if I'm not mistaken, right? Right, that you don't even see. So if this guy's like at, I don't know, 700, 800k defense, he'll get this extra 100% stats and he'll push himself above like 1 mil defense range, right? Now again, obviously he's not going to be able to live every super, but the fact that he could also get guaranteed dodge, still have you 70% dodge, building up dodge on the side. Rudigarn's really good. I do like Rudigar. Super Saiyan 3 Goku, comparatively to Rose, I just think that this guy, his standby mode, again, really, really powerful. I think this guy had no restrictions. You could just, again, also throw him on a team. He'll be cooking. We know a lot about the Super Saiyan 3 Goku as well, but him having the guaranteed counter, then he guaranteed dodges after, just making no matter what damage a super attack does, he will guaranteed counter the super attack, which is crazy good value. It's really crazy value. Base Super Saiyan 3 Goku is not a crazy character anymore himself, man, but the standby mode is so valuable. And obviously, you know, as a Saiyan character, there's just a lot of spots you could just throw this guy in on the team. God Topo, again, he's not a global yet. I think just God Topo is a good character. Very nice, strong defensive Assault 1 character. He's supporting, damage reduction, guard. Pretty good leader skill, actually, at this point, right? And God Topo could be super useful in the final stages difficult content. I'm not like a big God Topo fan, I think, compared to other people still, but I will respect this guy's value. And then I think these three, there's not really an argument. Transforming Vegeta, like, he's just good. Like, you know, stacking up damage reduction, guard, really good damage transformed, right? We know this transforming Vegeta right here, the tech one for Saiyan Day. Also, just like super easy restrictions, like compared to Rose, who needs super bosses. These two just came out, man. They're my last video. I don't really think I have to cover what they're doing at all. Super Saiyan 3 Goku, just like, it just, I mean, there's no argument for Rose over these guys. There's like zero argument, I would say. But if you want me to go in depth about those guys, in depth, I'm trying to say it right, but for some reason I can't say it. I'm just kind of dumb, I guess. If you want me to go in detail for them and why they're, I think, you know, 1 and 2, I would say Boo I like better than Goku overall, but I mean, you could argue Goku is 1, and I don't really think it's a big deal. I've warmed up to more to Goku as time passes on, but you know, I guess I'm a stickler for these restrictions, man. Boo does not have the like the category restrictions, and Boo, you can just use him on any team. Whilst Goku, you know, he wants Boo Saga rotations for his additional super and guard and etc. Whatever you want to do, whatever slot you want to put him in. But that is Rose. I shouldn't have closed this. That is Rose, man. I think that once we see the domain update, this guy could suit up. Like, if the domain update is a thing, and then we can get like fusions of Masa next to this guy, we can transform Broly and this guy together. It's like this guy could shoot up to like 5 potentially on this, especially if like these domain effects overlap, and then you're getting like all these super bosses domain effects, and it's like triple 20% buffs that are multiplicative with the domain. It's just like, yeah, I don't know. That's all I'm gonna say. Maybe you can move God Goku up, but I doubt it. I think I would keep Frieza here now. Let me know what you guys think. Rose at 8, I think it makes sense, right? You know, pre-buff, he probably would have been at 9, but I think, you know, he does move up to 8. Just Gamma 1 is so good. I mean, man, maybe Gamma 1 goes higher, but no. Maybe later. We'll see. Let's see post worldwide if Gamma 1 goes up potentially, right? You know, or Tanabata, maybe Tanabata brings some difficult content. I'm ending it here. Thanks y'all for watching, and I will catch you all in the next video. Peace out.